YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Right, so say hello to YouTube, everybody.
Hi, YouTube.
Our thousands of watchers on YouTube. We might get one or two live. We do get people watching the replay. This is just an easy way of recording the video for the show. Saves me uploading it later. Right, so I heard somebody's phone making noises. Can we?
Oh, that was mine.
Can we turn, especially WhatsApp, off? I can cheat. I can just change my audio on my computer to other headphones. That's it. So that will not come through. And I'm nearly ready to start, which is quite amazing. I'm not usually quite so on the ball. But save that file, save project as why not? That's fine. Oh, cancel. Under down. Talk amongst yourselves, folks, just for a second or two. Once I save the project. We use, I don't know if you're into sound recording at all, Sue, but we use Audacity as our method of recording the show. 2022-02-04. You look beautiful, Ted.
Thank you. I was just trying to refocus my camera.
Okay, Ted, have you looked at the schedule? Do you know, have you got written down in front of you what we are producing today?
I have.
Good. Okay. And are we ready to go? I'll just better explain to Sue that our first section is just Ted and Paul talking about the word of the week and the thought for the week. And Ted guest, or at least to hide the name of the guest. Though obviously if you're watching on YouTube, then you know it's not difficult to see. Then the second part is the interview with yourself, which will be just you and Ted. In part 3...
Moderator, sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. Ted, do you realise that when your microphone is on and you're making an awful lot of noise?
I do.
We hear every bit of that paper movement. I don't know. Is this your computer
That's
microphone?
great.
Is it your
Right.
computer microphone, Ted? Ted, is it your computer?
That's
microphone?
it might be the computer microphone, but I think the camera has a microphone as well.
Well, it'll only be picking up one of them.
It's very powerful. I can hear a lot of...
Yeah, we can
That's
hear
good.
absolutely.
That's great. That means it's working. It's fairly sensitive.
Okay, in part 3, it's just Paul talking about whatever he's talking about this week, which we'll soon find out. And in part 4, I think we want to talk with you again about the Growth Academy. So, Ted and Paul, let us, Ted and Paul.
Before we start,
Yep.
Moira, before we start, it's possible for us to do the 2 consecutive episodes with Sue,
Absolutely.
one after the other. That, Sue, would save you time if you don't want to stay for the full length of time. If you've got any time pressure, we could easily record episodes 2 and 4 consecutively. I'm just checking with you in relation to your time.
I don't mind. It's okay. Whatever is, whatever the flow is, I'll go with it.
Well, it's certainly easier for me to do it in sequence.
Yeah, that's great, Sue. Thanks for that. But we usually point out to our guests if they were under time pressure, we could kind of arrange it that way, But that's great. If you can stay with us for the whole lot, you'll be doing a lot with regards to the project in Pathways for Podcasting.
Yes.
You pick up some tips, tricks, and techniques.
Okay, let's get going.
Okay.
So, Paul and Ted only on screen now. Now, please don't turn your videos off or what, because then it messes up my the broadcast on YouTube, where I try to do it cleanly. Don't always succeed, but here we go. Right, Ted, are you ready?
Yes, Moira.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers on irishtalkers.com. Our email address is info@irishtalkers.com. You can also find us on Facebook as the Talk Show for Talkers. We look forward to your comments, your questions, your feedback. We regard this as evaluation. You are the people who give us the fodder to put up on this show every week. You can listen to previous shows on our website, irishtalkers.com. We also publish the Public Speaking Weekly, and this is a roundup of everything about Toastmasters, about public speaking, about confidence. So if you're looking for some more tips on Toastmasters and what we do in Toastmasters, then check out our newspaper on our website. My name is Ted Malamphy, and I'm joined again this week by the prolific, passionate, personable, pretty Paul O'Mahony.
Listeners, I'm not used to being called pretty. Can I just say I'm fairly plain if we want to continue with these words that begin with the letter P. But it's wonderful and very generous of you to listen to us today. And I hope you're going to enjoy it.
And thank you, plain pretty Paul, for that lovely thought. But, as you are plain pretty, exactly. And on this week's show, we will have our usual mix. We will have a thought for the week. We will have a word of the week, which Paul always gives us. We have a special guest, a very special guest for episode 2. And I know you'll want to listen to what this special guest has to offer. So make sure you come back for part 2. In part 3, Paul will be talking about the benefit of podcasting from Toastmasters perspective. So we're looking forward to that. Now, my thought for the week comes this week. It came to me from James Clear. And James Clear is the man who wrote Atomic Habits. But this one came as a very poignant and a sad message because his grandmother passed away last week. But she had a saying that she used to say to her own kids every morning before they went out the door to school. And she said, she used to say, and this is my thought for the week because it's full of positivity, put a smile on your face for the whole human race. Put a smile on your face for the whole human race. Is that positivity, Paul, or what?
Oh, yes, it is. And I think it's not a bad start to a poem, really.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a poem which has, put a smile on your face.
Yes.
Second line for the whole human race. And that might be something that could be developed. But yes, Ted, I'd say that there isn't a listener today who would be against receiving a smile from another person.
Oh, it's the first form of communication. If you smile at someone, you completely change their perspective or the thoughts that they're having in their heads. I mean, that's one thing about Irish people, and this is not a reflection on anybody in the room who may not be Irish, but if when I'm in town, I salute more people than I actually know, and they'll always salute you back. And if you smile at someone, they'll smile back at you. So what you're doing is you're cheering up somebody, whether you realise it or not. You're creating a nicer atmosphere, and if more of us did that in the world today, we may not have as much conflict as we have. So I'm delighted you liked that one, Paul. I certainly liked it when I saw it from James Clare coming in. And what a lovely thing to say to your kids going out the door. Just imagine you're 4 years of age and you're going down to get the school bus into school, and this is about 8:15 on a cold February winter's morning. And your mum at the door says to you, put a smile on your face for the whole human race. So you'd skip down the driveway to the bus, wouldn't you?
You might. Absolutely, you might. Of course, it depends upon what sort of mood you were in before your mother said to you, put a smile on your face. If you're really cross and fed up and cheesed off, you might find it quite unpleasant to be told, well, just put a smile on your face and repress all those genuine feelings. But Ted, I wanted to go back to a word you used, because we have listeners all over the world. And not everybody has English as their first language. You use the word salute. Now, for some people, the word salute has a military connotation, and they're imagining you going down the street in the city of Cork doing military salutes, and thereby picking up a perception of you which you might not have intended. The interesting thing in Ireland, I think, is that what Ted was talking to about a salute can be a simple jerk of the head from side to side, or generally it doesn't involve winking at somebody, but it can involve, a little of the hand or shift of the head, and it doesn't necessarily mean a smile either.
Well, I always include the smile, Paul. I always give a smile when I say, hi, yeah, how's it going? Top of the morning, soft day, all the different little ones that we have, It's a nice way and not alone does it put you yourself in better humour, but it also puts the receiver in better humour.
You don't mean top of the morning, though, do you?
Well, I may not say that. No, that's kind of a big arrow one. That's an old one. But I would certainly say, how's it going? It's a lovely day, isn't it? And the daffodils are after sticking their heads up out of the soil after their winter hibernation,
Right. So, listeners, maybe in your country, smile is just as powerful as it is in Ireland.
Mm. And Paul, you have a word of the week for us, have you? Or was it salute you're giving us?
No, it's a powerful word, Ted. It's, in fact, a especially powerful word. It's an enormously powerful word. And the word I have for you listeners this week is Titanic. Well, let me spell it for you. Titanic. Titanic. Over in this part of the world, especially in Belfast, where there's a huge... Okay, can we stop and cut out the background sound, please? What's all that background noise? Can you hear me?
It's obviously Ted's in Ted's house.
Did you not notice it, Moira?
I did. Didn't you see me making gestures? It was very obvious.
The word I have for you listeners this week is Titanic. Well, let me spell it for you. T-I...
I can get rid of some of it.
Well, why don't we start again at the word I have for you this week, listeners?
Yep. Okay.
Well, you're the boss on the audio recording, but that's great.
Let me just find it.
No, it's a powerful word.
My apologies, folks. What happened was my daughter and her husband had arrived, and I didn't realise they were going away so early, and they were saying goodbye to Jennifer. So I had to go out and say goodbye to them. That's what the noise was.
Right. So, listeners, okay, Ted, can you mute yourself until you want to speak?
I will.
Yeah, and can you all be quiet whilst I find the right place to restart?
Hibernation, or, you know.
Right. So, listener,
We'll take the out. I think it's just.
I'm going to begin with the word I have for you this week, listeners.
Yeah.
Right. So, listeners, maybe in your country, smile is just as powerful.
Is that it?
You know, the daffodils are after sticking their heads up out of the soil after their winter hibernation, or, you know.
So I'm going from there, Paul. So it's right from the beginning of your word of the day. Okay.
Ted actually said something after that.
Did he? Well, that doesn't sound like.
Smile is just as powerful.
And Paul, you have a word.
Okay. Right. I'm going to get rid of all that smile business because there's too much noise. So it's
hibernation, or. And Paul, you have a word of the week for us. Have you? Or was it salute you're giving us?
No, it's a.
Okay. So that's your start point, yeah? Paul? Okay. Right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yes, the word I have for you this week, listeners, is an enormous word. It's a gigantic word, and the word is Titanic. Let me spell it for you because it wouldn't be a word you probably used this morning. Titanic, Titanic. There's a place in Belfast even called the Titanic Exhibition. There's also a place in Cork, which is a much, much smaller exhibition. And both of those places have to do with an ocean liner, which in 1912, I think it was, sailed across the Atlantic, hit an iceberg and sank. And the rest is told in Leonardo DiCaprio's film, Titanic. But the word Titanic does not come from the ship Titanic, because we need to think about. Ted, have you any idea, by the way, where the word Titanic comes from?
Oh, he was fully sure, Paul, that it was just the name of the ship.
Yeah, but what I'm driving at. Okay. Listeners, over in this part of the world, the only origin of the word Titanic is, because it was so powerful, so big an experience, is that he was a ship. Well, it had nothing to do with the ship originally. It had to do with characters in Greek mythology called the Titans. In fact, there's even a film called something like War of the Titans. So Titans were a race of, or a family of giants. That's where it comes from. What about the word titanium? Titanium, Titanic. What is titanium famous for, if you like? Particularly strong. Much stronger than steel. So titanium and Titanic and Titans are all connected. The great thing about the word Titanic is, just imagine if you're evaluating a speaker and you want to come in with a oomph. So the first thing you can say is, my goodness, that was a Titanic of a speech. That will capture the attention of probably most people in the room or on Zoom. And that's what you want to do, don't you, Ted? You want to have a word that will wake people up. And there's a good one. What do you think of that, Ted?
Well, I agree with you. It is powerful. And now that you mention it, of course I came across Titans before. And I know exactly what you're referring to when you said that, to just that Titanic, I can see the ship because we used to have a running joke inside and work actually as when the war ever came up and they were talking about catastrophic events. One of my friends always said, what I'd like to know is who was the captain of the iceberg?
And anyway, titanium, by the way, is used in order to produce steel these days. So there we are. Well, with that, Ted, I'd like you to tell us what's on the agenda for the next episode.
Well, for the next episode, I'm after whetting the appetites of our listeners, our Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. We have a titan of Toastmasters as our guest. So come back for episode 2, because I'm not going to tell you now until you come back. So we'll see you tomorrow and hope to see you then. Bye.
That was an episode of Titanic proportions.
Yes, wasn't it?
Yes.
I got a, you know, you have these little things. I show you one like this
Oh, yeah, lovely.
with ones for every day of the year.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Well, I was in Waterstones the other day, and didn't I buy one with a word of the day for every day of the year?
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Now, in addition to giving you the definition on the front,
Mhm.
and there are some words, by the way, which we would all learn, but some of them are fairly obscure. But on the back, this was very useful. Do you know, before becoming the name of the most famous ship in history, Titanic referred to the Titans, a family of giants in Greek mythology who were believed to have once ruled the earth. And I won't go on because it says more.
So that's where you learned all about that Greek mythology.
Well, there you are now, Ted.
Excellent. That's excellent.
You'll have to guess whether I was brought up learning about Greek mythology or whether I simply, cogged it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's lovely.
This is
a nice, snappy, succinct piece of education.
Yep. Okay, I shall.
Well, remember,
return to
ideally, we'd
myself.
have quite a few listeners for whom English would be their second language.
Yeah.
There's actually, I don't know how many Toastmasters in the world there are who have people who've joined Toastmasters in order to improve their English.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fabulous.
We have quite a few at Anglia.
Certainly in the UK, there seem to be a lot more than in Ireland. I've noticed when I go to UK clubs, I would say the majority are non-English speakers, non-native English speakers.
Well, Sue would know better than any of the three of us. But I can tell you, if you think about India, Indonesia, Pakistan, all of those countries, it's a big Thailand. It's a big thing, and it's about the most useful place you could go, isn't it, Sue? About the most useful place you could go to practice your English.
Yeah. Okay, Sue, are you ready to be interviewed by himself?
Interviewed.
I don't think I've ever been used. I don't think I've been called a Titan before. I have been called small and mighty.
Okay, so it's over to Ted, and no, let's get it right. Ted, where are you? There you are. Okay, Ted. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. I promised you yesterday that we were going to have a titan of Toastmasters with us today, and I'm now going to reveal that titan of Toastmasters is Sue Burnett. Sue, you're very welcome to the Talk Show for Talkers.
Thank you, Ted.
It's a real pleasure having you here. And Sue, what we normally do with our guests, there are 5 questions. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want you to be counting 5 in your mind when I'm asking the questions, because between the actual 5 questions, there could be 20 on one side and 20 on the other side. So you could be asked 50 questions. But Sue, what I want to know is, what club are you a member of, or what clubs are you a member of?
Thank you, Ted. Well, I'm delighted to be here with you today and to show you the clubs that I am a member of. I am a member of Anglia Communicators in Peterborough, which is part of East Anglia and north of Cambridgeshire. And I'm also a member of the Advanced Club, Cornerstone Communicators Advanced Toastmasters Club. And I do support many other clubs, but I'm not currently a member of more than two. I think two is quite a lot.
Two is a lot. That's a fantastic achievement. And of course, you're also very well known in Toastmasters as one of the people who is involved with the Growth Academy, which is a brainchild or an initiative of Elizabeth Jordan.
Yes, that's correct. I've been working with Elizabeth for a while now. I started working with Elizabeth last year with the Sunday webinars and part of the Sunday webinar team. And I also got involved in doing some promotion for the D71 conference, which was amazing. Really enjoyed that and really enjoyed those experiences. And Elizabeth liked the way in which I worked, and she invited me to be part of the Growth Academy because of my long history in Toastmasters and the quality that I can help other members, help them to grow and become even better versions of themselves. So we're all on a journey of growth, and I know that I've grown since I've been in this role, and I'm helping others to grow too through what I do.
Yeah, fantastic. And I also know, Sue, that I saw you on some of those little snippets before Christmas. You showed us your Christmas jumper and you had your Christmas hat on. So that was very nice. And that's what prompted my phone call to you, or my message to you. And you were so accommodating in that you came back to me straight away and said, yeah, I'd love to come on to Talk Show for Talkers. I know here you are. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
And I think that's part of the Growth Academy, is it? Do you give out one of these little educationals? Is it on a weekly basis? And we'll be speaking about that, of course, in episode 4 as well.
Yeah, before Christmas, I was involved in creating a series of videos for the Growth Academy to help share some of the knowledge and wisdom, tips and strategies that work for others. So that is one initiative that I brought to the table, and I'm really excited about my second one, but perhaps I can save that for the second part.
Oh yes, definitely, yeah. And what I'm going to do now is, what brought you to Toastmasters initially?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked me that question. It was a friend that invited me to become a member. And at that time, I was in a bad place, a seriously bad place. I had rock bottom confidence. I should have been on the top of the world, but I really wasn't at that time, because I'd done a big stint of studies where I thought I'd grown, and I thought I was ready to move into a new position at work, but could I get new work? No, it just really wasn't happening. And I also found they wanted me to do presentations, which I really didn't know how to do. And in those days, people are still suffering from this situation. It was called PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint. And I think that's still something that's around today, but not in my camp and not on my watch, because I did become a member and my confidence grew. And I also learned how to present without a PowerPoint, because let's face it, PowerPoint is not always going to work. So if we can communicate our message to the world at large and bring them in through what we say and how we say it, it's far more powerful than giving people a lot of words on a slide. And they're going to pay more attention to what we have to say instead of reading it. So that's what I've learned through Toastmasters, the power of the word, spoken word.
That's fantastic, and that's a superb acclamation for Toastmasters as well, because you're not unique in being in the place that you were, Sue. Lots of us would have been in that place before we found Toastmasters. And it's just life that we go through. But when you look back, some of those difficulties that you may have considered that you had then, these are your professors, these are your teachers. We learn from situations like that, and as we grow older, they say you grow wiser, and that's where wisdom comes from, having to go through situations like that that are uncomfortable at the time. So well done for coming through that. And Toastmasters and the three of us here today who are with you on this show, we're after benefiting from your wisdom and from your knowledge of Toastmasters. So what has been the greatest benefit to you?
I think the greatest benefit, well, there have been many benefits. And I know that I have changed as a person, and I've become a different person, a better person. But I think one of the great benefits of Toastmasters is helping others to grow through that channel. And I feel that's one of the greatest things that I see happening when someone arrives who is just like me, quaking in their boots, shaking in their shoes, wobbling like a jelly. And I start to see them grow, just one small step at a time. And eventually that person flourishes and becomes in full bloom. That is amazing to see that growth. And I think if we can share that with others, then that truly is a gift we can give.
That's another fantastic testimonial on behalf of Toastmasters. Quaking, shaking, and wobbling. What beautiful words you use there to describe those emotions. That's fantastic. I love that. And you're right, Sue. What you're doing for people and what we in Toastmasters do, we change people's world. So you're actually changing the world. You're certainly changing the world for people to become better people, to become more confident, to become more competent, to reach exactly what they're born for. We're all born for a purpose, and you're helping people to achieve that purpose. What has been your biggest Toastmasters challenge?
There have been many challenges. And I feel now that when I get a challenging situation, I do have the confidence to cope with it. And I'm just trying to see if something pops into my head that is the biggest challenge. I can name a challenge that we were faced with recently at Anglia Communicators. And this particular challenge involved technology. And this is quite interesting. And it's almost like history's repeating itself, because I can remember back in the days when I was first a member, I was challenged with the technology at that time. And at that time, I didn't have the wisdom that I have now. And when we had a technical failure, because the Anglia have now gone into hybrid situation, we had a technical failure. And that was very, very challenging for the members within the club. And I happened to be Toastmaster of the evening that evening. And I couldn't have planned that. But because of my wisdom, I was able to carry the meeting and make it very positive, even though we started late. And after the event, the newer members came up to me and said, Sue, it's amazing how you managed to help that meeting carry through professionally. We wouldn't have had a clue, but that was great because I was able to show them how that would happen and how it could be successful. So that's one of my biggest challenges and how I overcame it.
Well done. And as you mentioned, there have been many challenges. That's a fantastic answer, because that brings us into this realm of the era we're in now, because there have been lots of challenges for clubs and for individuals in clubs because of COVID. But that's a fantastic. I'll have to get you to visit Blarney Toastmasters, so I'm sure you can inspire some of our members. I'm definitely going to have to get you. So if you could, Sue, what would you change about Toastmasters, if anything?
I personally can't make Toastmasters change. Toastmasters is in constant change. It's constantly changing, constantly growing. And believe it or not, constance is the change. That's probably not making a lot of sense. But change is happening right before our eyes. And one of the things that I believe would change Toastmasters, but this has to come from within the people that make up Toastmasters, because we are the change that we could be. And I can remember Mahatma Gandhi saying, this is probably a famous quote, be the change you want to see. So what I'd like to see is a change towards a more positive future, because I know there have been people that have embraced this virtual situation, and I think it's been a very exciting time for many people that have embraced this. But there have been another group of people that may not have been so positive about this opportunity for change. But change is the only constant. So I'd like to be the change I want to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic as well. I love that. It reminds me of what Ryan Holiday said. And in fact, he wrote a book with the same title, The Obstacle is the Way. That's a lovely one by Mahatma Gandhi. And I fully applaud you on that be the change that you want to see. And what keeps you coming back to Toastmasters?
You might have heard me say earlier that Toastmasters is a gift. And I was truly grateful for being given that gift, which was a friend inviting me in. I didn't know what it was until I got there. But once I got in that environment, I felt within this nurturing bubble a place of hope, a place where I could be nurtured. And if we nurture our members, it helps them to grow. And I feel that I've forgotten the question now.
No, what I was asking you is what keeps you coming back?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what keeps me
you were
coming back?
really lost in that beautiful solidity that you were on there. Yeah.
Oh, what keeps me coming back? Well, I came to become confident. I came to become better at presenting myself. I came to be able to share my voice with the world. And what keeps me coming back is that there is an enormous opportunity for change, and learning is a lifelong thing. And I know that as this program is changing, it's helping us to change. I can now share that change with others, and I'm really happy and grateful for that.
And Sue, that's a beautiful way to finish up this episode. I hope you enjoyed the beautiful dulcet tones of Sue Burnett. And if you stay with us, you're going to hear her again, maybe in episode 3, but definitely in episode 4. So come back tomorrow, because Paul will be telling us about podcasting for Toastmasters.
Okay, folks, well done.
Well done, Sue. That was fantastic. I could have asked you another 50 questions. Well done. I loved your answers. Excellent. Excellent. Well done.
I did too, Sue. I thought you were terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, thoughtful,
let you go on
erudite,
somewhat.
fantastic answers, yeah.
I did let you go on
And
somewhat.
so, you know, the beauty of this show actually is, and we've been doing it now since 2014, and we've had lots of guests on, from international presidents to world champions of public speaking, down to ordinary members like ourselves, the Toastmaster members in clubs. But even though the 5 questions are the same every week, the arrangement of answers that you get are absolutely incredible. You know, if we were to go back over all the shows and put them into a book, I think we'd have a great book about Toastmasters.
That's you should publish it.
Yeah, but you know, that thought often came to me, that some of those answers that we get, I can remember that we started in 2014 and we had the pleasure of interviewing Dhananjaya Hettiarachchi
Sri Lanka.
from Sri Lanka. Thanks, Marla. We were in Cork and he was in Sri Lanka, and it was as if he was in the next room. It was superb. I think we got 2 shows out of it, the amount of talking we did with him.
Yeah.
And he was just after becoming world champion. It was around October of 2015, just after he had won or 2014, just after he had won the world championships. And what a beautiful individual. And then we had the man who followed him up as well, Mohammed Katani. So and it's a real pleasure. And then we spoke to we had Daniel Rex on, and we had Mohammed Murad. Is it Mohammed Murad? Yeah, he was an international president, and we had other international presidents on. So it's been a fantastic journey and a great learning curve for those of us on the talk show for talkers, you know.
I'm trying to persuade Dhananjaya to come back on, but
he's
being a bit hesitant. I'm not sure why.
I'll have to give him a shout. So myself, I met him in Scotland, and it was a fantastic pleasure to meet him.
Okay,
I'd say Ted, you'll have Moira. Ted has rapport with him. I would say Ted should.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
especially now. I'm not sure whether he's still in Toastmasters, but the pity is that once you win the World Championship, you can't enter it anymore. Which I think really is. I hope that he has stayed in Toastmasters, or for any of the Toastmasters who have had the pleasure and the privilege of winning the World Championship of public speaking. You know, it takes away something to say that they can't go in for it again. They have so much more to offer, and I hope they stay in Toastmasters.
Shall we press on?
Do you want to call us in, so Maureen? I'll introduce Paul for episode 3. And Paul, if you want Sue or I to come in, if you have a particular point that you'd like somebody to expand on, sure, you can ask Sue or you can ask me, as you know.
Okay, doke.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, Ted, you're going to bring Paul in. 3,
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters, would-be Toastmasters, listeners and friends. You're very welcome to episode 3 of this week's show of the Talk Show for Talkers. And we have the plain pretty Paul O'Mahony now, and he's going to talk about podcasts for Toastmasters. Over to you, Paul.
Well, thank you very much, Ted. When did Toastmasters start podcasting? Now, there's a pub quiz question for you. Who would like to guess? Now, in this studio today, I have 3 fantastic Toastmasters, and I am going to ask all 3 of them to make a guess. I'm the only one who's done the research, I suspect. So let me start off, first of all, with the man who's good at answering questions. Ted Malanphy, when did Toastmasters start podcasting?
I would think 2018 is a relatively new
Fantastic, Ted. Totally and utterly wrong, but a great answer. Moira O'Brien, when did Toastmasters start podcasting?
That's a good question. I would guess 2014.
Oh, way off.
Before you give us the answer, no, Paul, remember you have Sue Barnett who's going to give us the answer as well.
Will you just keep quiet? Sue, when do you think podcasting began?
That's a good question, Paul. And we have to think back to before Zoom days.
You're right.
For the first
Absolutely
podcast.
right, Sue.
First podcast was done by Bo Bennett. Was it Bo Bennett or Bo Derek? I remember the podcast being on the website for Anglia Communicators. And it was shortly after I became a member.
No, I'm sorry, Sue. You were right for a while until you said that. Now, here's something, listeners, that is going to shock you, because what year did you join Toastmasters, Ted Melanfi?
I joined in 2008.
Right. Well, the year after you joined, podcasting began in Toastmasters. Now, it may be that Ted Melanfi influenced the establishment of the Toastmasters podcast. The Toastmasters podcast began in July 2009 with a 00 episode, which is what you do before you broadcast your first episode. And the two people on it were Bo Bennett and Ryan Levesque. The reason I ask that, Toastmasters, here today, is that, as you may know, a big new emphasis came on the communication skills you can learn from podcasting with the introduction of our new education system, Pathways. It's now an elective. All those development years from 2009, which have led to a number of districts like District 121, like District 24, and like District 43. Those three districts, and there are others too, actually have podcasts called Toastmasters 121 and something like District 24 and District 43. In addition to that, there are a number of Toastmasters clubs that have podcasts. In District 91, in case you're interested in a club that specializes, please cut out that last sentence. Here's the thing. Podcasting really got going in about the year 2000. And it went to a massive expansion. Now, this has nothing to do with Toastmasters, a massive expansion in popularity from a tiny, tiny start. And then it went into the doldrums. And it began to come back in around 2007, 2008. And recently, it's taken the most enormous jump. And a whole lot of people in the world who have never listened to a podcast have heard of the name Joe Rogan. And there's a big controversy going on around Joe Rogan, just to timestamp this particular episode. But podcasting is now threatening live radio in a very big way, because people can listen to a podcast episode at a time that suits them. They can get a whole stream of audio experiences. We'll forget about video for the moment. A whole stream of audio experiences that suit them, that are about the thing they're interested in most. Their favorite football team may well have a podcast. There's Toastmaster clubs that specialize. There's a Toastmasters club that could easily have a podcast. It's called Digital Communicators. Now it's in District 71. So I decided, well, they're digital communicators. I'll check out to see if they have a podcast, because podcast is a digital experience. Goes through the internet. But here's one for digital communicators. They haven't got a podcast yet, but I'm quite sure that the club, which specializes in helping their members to communicate online in all sorts of things, probably has plans. At present, Belfast Toastmasters has a podcast. At present, well, Monaghan Toastmasters has a podcast. Lagan Valley used to have a podcast. in District 91, Shilling Speakers, is about to launch its podcast. Now, all around the world, people are listening to podcasts more than ever before. Some of you listening to this might not even know what a podcast is. If I just tell you that for a simple thing, it's a piece of audio that you can download from the internet and listen to it whenever you want to. You can even subscribe to a whole series of audios that come from it. And some people would even say that in their circles that they move in, just about everyone has a podcast. There are too many podcasts, I've heard people say. It's a bit like they used to say about books. There are too many published books. We were all right when we only had 4 books. Yes, the Bible, the dictionary, and Samuel Pepys's diary. When we only had those 3, we had enough books. Now look at us. You go into a bookshop and you have absolutely no idea what to buy because every book is screaming at you with fancy covers. Well, I can tell you that podcasters have their own form of fancy covers. They often use a bit of music. Here's the thing. It isn't an accident that the new education program in Toastmasters has an elective project on making a podcast. That's not an accident. It's a timestamp, if you like, a recognition by the developers of the education program that one of the main methods of communicating, one of the ways that might help you in your career, is to be able to podcast. You're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you listen to other podcasts. This is not the only podcast that you listen to. And, we're terribly glad you decided to listen to a second episode. We've been recording 4 episodes a week for goodness knows how many years. Very soon it'll, people who are just born will be, and anyway, they'll all have reached 18 and the podcast will have reached 18 years. But here's the thing. You can do a superb project in Pathways on podcasting. You're going to learn a whole raft of skills that you will not learn when you're speaking in the ordinary way in clubs. You will have to learn how to record your own voice, perhaps, the voice of other people, perhaps. And you can even do a podcast which is ambient sound. There are podcasts for bird watchers, and almost the only thing on them are the tweeting of birds. There could well be a podcast that you might like to make, a topic that you feel very keen on, something that you're putting your effort into. You might be an author. And as an author, you like to try out on some other people a bit of your first chapter. If you're a poet, you might like to share one of your poems. If, like Ted, you do fishing and you're big into fly fishing, you might like to do a little podcast about how to tie flies. And, one episode is about the tiger lily. What did I say? Fly, and whatever. But the key thing is that in Toastmasters, in your own club, and you can take it to other clubs. You see, this is something very few people do, listeners. You can actually record an hour. That's all you have to do, 60 minutes. In fact, the truth is you don't have to put it up on the internet according to the project guidelines, but I would strongly encourage you to put it up on the internet. There's a real discipline about publicly displaying your work. The biggest issue about podcasting is marketing them. We won't go down that road today. But the key thing is that you record 60 minutes. They might be, 12 5-minute conversations. They could be 2 episodes of 30 minutes each, even one whole long one. You make a tiny short speech at the beginning to introduce it. You play it at your club. You're going to get evaluated. And your career as a podcaster may well have begun. I was working with a member of our club recently, who's also a member of a club over in Aberdeen. He decided he wanted to get into podcasting. He's now madly enthusiastic about it. He knows how to record. He knows how to edit. He's now interested in how you get music and voice layered on top of each other for the beginning. So he is becoming very enthusiastic. This is worth considering, listeners. When are you going to have a go? When are you going to get out of your comfort zone and make a podcast and be one of the podcasting leaders in Toastmasters International?
And thank you, Paul. Fantastic education, great words on podcasting. So come back tomorrow, because tomorrow we are going to be speaking again with our Titan of Toastmasters, Sue Burnett, and she's going to be giving us and teaching us all about the Growth Academy in Toastmasters. So see you then.
Ted, you've just given me a wonderful idea for a new Toastmasters club.
Good.
Titanic Toastmasters.
Yes. Sounds good, Paul.
If you want,
Sounds
Titans of Toastmasters.
Titans of
Titanic Toastmasters has something about it, doesn't it, Moira?
It does actually, yeah.
What do you think, Sue?
I like Titans of Toastmasters. That's really.
I think, well, Sue is after being given that name now, lads. Sorry about that.
Well, no, but
So-
I would invite all the world champions and all the district champions and the semi-finalists and
Yeah.
all the top guys. And
Yeah,
girls.
nice idea, Moira. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'll do the little people, Moira. You can deal with the
Titans.
I prefer deal with
Giants of the industry.
Titanic Toastmasters, people who've just joined. But
People
anyway,
just
look,
join.
I'm going to get a glass of water and
Okay.
I'll be back in a minute, okay?
There you are.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts so far, Sue?
Well, I was interrupted by Paul.
Oh,
So I was
yeah.
going. The words he spoke over the end of what I was just about to say, because I was actually right. Because I was a Toastmaster before the first podcast started, so it did start shortly after I joined and became a member. But Paul said I was wrong. I was a member from 2005.
Oh, I see, right.
And I was going to say 2008 because I thought it was 2008, but hey ho, no worries.
No, I was 2008, actually. I joined on January 2008.
Yeah.
I joined, and the reason I joined, Sue, is you were speaking about the place where you were. I was in a similar place because I had been a printer for a national newspaper, and that newspaper, it was called the Irish Examiner, and it printed lots of papers. But they decided that they were going to outsource their printing requirements to an outside company. So I and 63 of my colleagues lost their jobs.
Gosh.
And I had been working since I was 15 years of age, and mostly in printing. I served my time as a printer. But to be told at 53 years of age that you're going to be out of a job, you have 2 kids in college, you have a mortgage, and I didn't have any academic qualifications that would allow me to walk into a job. And at that stage, anyhow, who's going to employ a 53-year-old when they can get all these younger people coming out of college? So what I did was that I went to university, and I did I won't say as an elder lemon, as a mature student. I did a diploma in health and safety because that was part of my remit when I was with the Examiner, health and safety. And I set up my own business after losing my job. I went to university from 2005 to 2007, lost the job in 2006. Had started in university in 2005, graduated in 2007. And I set up my own business at the start of 2008 and discovered very quickly I'd have to improve my communication skills. And thereby, that's what dragged me into Toastmasters. Nobody brought me, and I just decided myself, I've heard of this, organisation called Toastmasters, so I'll see what it's like. And sure, the first night I walked in, I was hooked, and it has enabled me to keep the business that I have going. And there's 11 people working with me now, so losing my job was the best opportunity I got.
Fantastic.
And Toastmasters has led me down the road where I can speak to people like Sue Burnett when I need to sell to you what I sell, which is a service. So to make sure that your employees are trained up properly and that we create the proper culture and the right culture to make sure that Sue Burnett's company is successful as it possibly can be. So Toastmasters has been a fantastic benefit to me. And like you, Sue, it changed my life.
Good. And it's great you had that, it gave you that confidence to be able to reach out and start off on a new footing and see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, I was lucky, and I've often asked the question, and I'll ask you the question now. Does Toastmasters seek us out, or do we seek Toastmasters out?
Good question. Shall we progress on that?
Because I think there's something out there in the karma, in the universe, that because it's not everybody that Toastmasters will suit,
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. Thanks. We might develop that at another podcast also. Mara, call us in, so and we'll.
Well, you've heard of the secret, haven't you?
Oh, I have. Yeah, definitely.
Have you heard about the law of attraction?
I have. I've heard of that. I've read the books.
And have you heard about the universal parcel system?
I have. I've heard of those, yeah.
So you've read Barbel Moore?
Yes, and I've read. Have you read Robin Sharma?
No.
The monk who sold his Ferrari?
No.
Well, you should read that book. That will change your life. And he's written a lot of books.
Folks, can we press on, please?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mara, sorry.
Thank you. Right, so this is episode 4.
Yeah, Paul, do you want to drag us in for episode 4? Do you want to announce it?
Growth Academy. Okay, Paul?
Count me in.
No, we're not in. I will count you in. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Toastmasters and friends. Welcome, all listeners, to the Talk Show for Talkers, which you can download as a podcast by putting Irish Talkers into your podcatcher. Today, we have an extraordinary conversation for you. In the conversation today is going to be the return of Sue Burnett from District 71, and she's going to be in conversation with Ted Malanphy in District 71. And I'm Paul O'Mahony, and I might say one or two things. Let me start with you, Ted. What would you like to talk to Sue about?
Oh, there's so much I could speak to this young lady about, Paul. This lady has the knowledge of, titanic knowledge of Toastmasters. I've called her one of the titans of Toastmasters. So I want you to explain to Paul and to all our listeners and all our Toastmasters and would-be Toastmasters what the Growth Academy in District 71 is all about.
Thank you, Ted. Well, I'm delighted to be back here with you today, and I am super excited to share with you more about the Growth Academy. And the Growth Academy was the brainchild of our Elizabeth Jordan, Toastmasters D71's Club Growth Director for this year. And what Elizabeth has done, she's gathered together a hub of excellence and expertise. And thank you, Ted, for giving me that huge gargantuan welcome. So we have some more titans to add to the pile, I believe. We have Gavin Gallagher, who heads up the team. He's our growth chair. We also have Maria Orlovic, who is championing. Oh God, I can't. My teeth aren't in straight today. New clubs, and she leads that section. So she's helping to create new clubs and getting them on their way. We also have Steve Campion, that's looking after the back office. He's our project manager. So he's putting together resources and streamlining processes for us. So we as a team are here to help District 71 in terms of helping them to create new clubs and build up existing clubs. So if there are clubs out there that are listening to this that might be looking to attract guests to their club, then we are the people that can help you to grow. Also, we are helping clubs through matching them up with coaches to help them create strategies and plans to grow the clubs and membership within the club. So that's altogether, we are a team of excellence and expertise in those different areas. And of course, yours truly is heading up club quality and sustainability. So my expertise is helping to attract new members, new guests, helping clubs convert them into members, and then helping them to retain members as well. So putting strategies together, using strategies that have worked, tips and tactics to help members grow and nurture that relationship for growth.
That's wonderful, Sue. Can you give us some of those tips, tricks and tactics that you're speaking of? Because I was listening to Kevin Gallagher when I saw this little video of you the other night, and he was talking about why is it that some clubs have 30, 40, 50, even up to 100 members?
That's a great question. And
Hang on. This means stop.
What? Sorry, Paul, what?
His name is Gavin Gallagher.
Oh, beg your pardon, Kevin.
Go back.
I said
Go
Kevin.
back. Yeah, I
Well,
know.
Maura, we could have... All right, go back, Maura, if you like, so.
We might well get his name right, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you.
yeah, names are important.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, and I had it written down.
I will.
Right, so going back to the question,
I will edit that.
How
So
are
restart.
some clubs surviving and thriving, and other clubs are struggling to get off the ground? Or just imagine you've got a brand new group of people that are in a club and they're joining Toastmasters and they're looking at, no, that's probably not the right road to go down. Let me backtrack just a little bit. I'm just trying to think of a story that can help us illustrate this point.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, hang on.
Yeah.
The convention, the easiest thing, sorry, I didn't mean to upset you, but if there's anything you want to take back, let's say.
Yeah. I think just
Right,
just
can we
correct
go-
that last bit.
can
'cause
we
it
Yeah,
go
you
does
just
back?
have to pause, so yeah.
You just
Can
go
we go-
silent.
Can we go?
Moira will pick it up when she's editing.
Yeah.
And because there's been a silence, she'll know where the silence, the bit that needs to be cut out. Okay, I promise no more interruptions.
Sorry about that, Paul. And Maura, just before you go back, do you want me to do the Gavin Gallagher instead of Kevin Gallagher?
Yes, indeed. Let me go back to that spot, which I have hopefully marked.
Yeah, names are important.
Okay, for that.
Yeah.
And in
I know.
case you're We could speaking to us, Maura, we can't hear you because
I
you're
can't-
muted.
Ted, I can't listen if you talk over me. Talk
Yeah,
over.
I
Well,
know.
Maura, we could... Oh, beg your...
His name is Gavin. Moira, you're muted. Or maybe you want to be muted. Okay.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't intentional.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the spot.
That's a great question.
When I saw this little video of you the other night, and he was talking about why is
So it's a long way back.
that's wonderful, Sue. Can you give us some of those tips, tricks, and tactics that you're speaking of? Because I was listening to Kevin Gallagher.
Right. So that's it.
That's it, no more. Yeah.
I was listening to Kevin Gallagher. So that's where you're going
Yeah.
from, Ted.
Okay.
So we're going back quite a long way.
And are we going to carry on from there? Or are you going to
Yes.
split you back in the bit
so
that we went to?
last minute and a half is being completely wiped.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah.
I was listening to
Gavin Gallagher.
Gavin Gallagher. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
I was listening to Gavin Gallagher, and he was speaking on the Growth Academy, and he was talking about clubs who'd have in excess of 20 members, 30, 40, 50. I think he even went up to 100. Can you give us some of the tips, tricks, and tactics, Sue, that would be able to generate those numbers in our club, in any club for that matter?
Thank you, Ted, for asking me that question. And I'd love to share some of those tips and tricks with you to help your clubs grow. And I know that I have helped my home club to grow massively. And it would probably take me all day to talk about it in detail. So I'll just cut to the chase. I can remember stepping into the Vice President of Education shoes just after I joined the club back in 2006 it was. And this was a gargantuan task. And I decided that the club was really good at doing educational goals. They had so many, but what they were struggling with was membership. And the president at the time said to me, Sue, why is it that we can't get our membership goals? They are the most difficult ones to get. This was the club success plan. This was the person in charge at the time. And I thought, not on my watch. That's not going to happen. So I had a mission to not only support our members, but to support our committee to help the club grow, because it was struggling to get to that 20. And they had recruited people that weren't really participating in meetings. So the meeting quality had gone down. And also the members were doubling up on roles, and some members were getting what we call Toastmasters burnout because they were trying to do too much. A quality meeting involves all the members in the club, but we wanted to increase the membership. That was my ultimate goal. So I had to then work out what motivated the team. We had a membership manager, and he absolutely loved doing the induction ceremony for new members. So if I could help him to attract more new members, do you think he's going to be a happy chappy? He was amazingly happy because he took on board getting everything ready. He had the membership pack ready, he had the forms ready. So as soon as a new guest came along, he was there. And we had a great vice president of PR who got articles in the paper. So it was all starting to happen. And by the end of the year, I think we'd grown we recruited, I believe, 16 members. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So that is definitely the law of attraction working. We've got a really positive vibe in there, and positive energy attracts positive energy. And there was this great energy going on inside the club. So people wanted to be part of it. And then the club started to grow, our members started to grow. And yeah, we had challenges at the time. They'd introduced a new manual called the Competent Communicator Manual.
Yeah.
And I can remember embracing this, but there was people that weren't wanting to embrace this.
Mm.
So we can either choose to embrace this as an opportunity for growth and welcoming those people in and helping them to become part of our family, our Toastmasters bubble, where we can nurture and help those members to grow, those people to gain their confidence. And as soon as someone comes in our door, we know they're interested in something. We don't know exactly what it is, but we need to ask them to find out what it is that they want to help, what's going to help them grow, so we can nurture that relationship. So that's really how it kind of all came about, and how I helped to change my club. And now I'm in a position where I can help others change their club environment to become a better club, so that attracts members. But some clubs are really good at doing it, and other clubs are not. But we need to help them, more clubs, do this so they can become growth clubs as well.
It's a great point, and the point that you're making, or what I'm taking out of this, is that when you have a member, particularly a member of a committee such as the VP, such as yourself, if you're enthusiastic about the job that you have, you'll manage to get some guests in. And what happens then is those guests bring other people with them next week. I mean, to be able to, by the end of the year, to have an extra 16 people in your club back in 2006 or 2007. So that was fantastic. I mean, that formula, that's what we should be looking for now, to get out there with that enthusiasm and to invite people in and to leave them see the vibe that's in the club. That's how you capture new members.
Indeed, yes. It's once you know what's in it for them, then they will sign up. And I help some of our club officers to use those tactics to recruit members, and people that stepped into the Vice President of Education shoes, I helped to nurture that relationship as well. So they knew how to get the agendas filled up, not just for one meeting, for 3 meetings ahead. Because what I see in some clubs is that they're still filling the roles on the night, because they haven't done what we call forward planning. And if you do forward planning in the right way, you've got your agenda set for the next 3 months.
Yes.
And if you've got a new member come along, okay, we've got an icebreaker speech. Let's see if we can fit that in, because we needed to manage that as well, because we needed to help that member get onto the educational program, help them find their steps, start their icebreaker, start their journey towards success. And success breeds success.
It does. Fantastic. Well, they really are the thoughts of a titan in Toastmasters. So you're going to have to come along Tuesday night. I'm going to invite you to Blarney Toastmasters, because what we need people such as yourself, who has that vision, who has the ability and the capability of enthusing people. And if we have guests there Tuesday night, and if we ask questions, and if you can answer even some of those questions, that would be fantastic for us. And when we mentioned that you're a member of the Growth Academy in District 71, that will be a real feather in our cap as well. And Paul has his hand up. Paul?
Yeah. Sue, I just wanted to ask you, in terms of our overall membership, one is, how's it going this year in comparison with what was hoped for? And does the Growth Academy have any targets or aims, goals for example, how much membership might grow over the next 3 years?
I believe Elizabeth Jordan is the number cruncher on that aspect. So she has a vision for our district to achieve the president's distinguished, but I'm not sure how realistic that is. If we were to all work together to attract new members, attract new guests, more guests, convert those to members and work on the quality within the club, then it's feasible to see a realistic goal being achieved. So Elizabeth is the person that has all the numbers on that. I look after the quality aspect of it. So I saw the red light, so I'm going to pass back to Ted, and I'm sure we can explore that topic another day.
Yeah, and thank you, Sue. That's a lovely way to finish out this week's talk show for talkers. It has been an absolute pleasure and a privilege, Sue, to have you with us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And it's goodbye for me, and it's goodbye from Plain Pretty Paul, but he can say it himself.
Well, thank you very much for listening, listeners. Very grateful for your attention. And please, if you think this was a good episode, how about mentioning it to somebody else?
Yeah, and we'd like to thank Maura O'Brien, who's the technical brains behind our podcasting show. See you all again next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well done, Sue. Thank you very much for your time today and for being a great guest.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you make sure now that Anglian communicators and Cornerstone Advanced Club listen in on Saturday at 4 o'clock. Episode 2 will be on Saturday at 4 o'clock. We go out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Right. So they'll have to listen to you on Monday then as well.
So Saturday and Monday.
So it goes Friday. It starts at 4 o'clock Friday, where we give episode 1.
Yeah.
Episode 2 goes out on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 3 then with Paul goes on Sunday. And then on Monday, just to make sure that you're going to get your Toastmasters fix at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll be having that conversation that we had with you about the Growth Academy again.
Right. Okay, that's great. I will broadcast that on
Spread
social
the word,
media.
well done. And you know what you'll find actually, Sue, is when you listen to yourself answering some of the or all of the questions, you'll be clapping yourself on the back. You'll be jumping up and down. You'll be absolutely chuffed with the answers you gave, because when you're giving the answer, you kind of do it automatically and subconsciously. But when you listen to it back after, you say, God, that was brilliant. Because I should have been getting €1,000 a minute for that.
It's interesting. It's interesting that things happen in certain ways, because I can remember the first time I stepped into the role of VPPR for Anglia, because I've held various different roles. The first one was Vice President of Education.
That was a big role. Come here, that was a big role they gave you.
And then I went to President.
Yeah, well
and then
done.
I went to VPPR. I stepped into that role, and the next day I got a phone call from the BBC radio station.
Cool.
How did that happen? And they asked me to do an interview.
Did it happen because they heard you on the show or something?
No, I hadn't done any social media anywhere at all. It was just came completely out of the blue, and they had my name from somewhere. I thought, how did they know I was in this role?
Oh, that's incredible.
It was like, yeah.
That was serendipity. So yeah, fantastic.
And I think at that time I was just onto my advanced manuals, and they were doing the radio interview, and I was making sure that I was I need to get back on track with this, making every opportunity count. Because that was like, I'm doing the radio interview, I'm actually doing it on the radio. Will somebody evaluate me?
With the BBC, that was fantastic, yeah.
BBC Radio Cambridge, yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, fantastic. That must have been a great experience as well, so.
Yeah, it was.
Brilliant.
Okay.
That's fantastic. So we'll be publicising this now on the website as well. And as you know, I don't know whether we're still recording for YouTube or not, Mara, but people on YouTube will have been watching it as well.
Ted, I will always tell you when we're saying goodbye to YouTube, which I was trying to interrupt you to say, let's say goodbye to YouTube.
Oh, bye YouTube. Sorry about that.
Bye YouTube. See you again next
Bye.
week.